Hello everyone, welcome to week number 7 in Bio 120. We've got this week and next week to go, so let's just hop into the announcements. Last week you learned all about asexual reproduction, for example in bacteria, and how cells just basically split in half. One mother cell becomes 2 daughter cells, and so the daughter cells are exact replicas of the mother cell. And you looked at how the genetic variation can happen in organisms that do asexual reproduction. You looked at sexual reproduction and how many different combinations can be made from parents. We looked at heredity, and of course you know some of this terminology. Dominant recessive traits, those sorts of things. If you're taking the lab, you also did a lab on that. We looked at nature versus nurture, and that included some information about epigenetics and how epigenetics means above the genes, above the DNA, and this is the control of genes, how genes are turned on and off, and this is very important, because this is how the identity of a cell comes about, and therefore the identity of an organism. And we learned that even environmental conditions, including stress, including diet, including trauma, etc., 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 can affect epigenetics. And that means your genes change on into the future generations because of environmental conditions. We also learned about biodiversity and how important that is. That you have to have diversity in a species, in a population, in an ecosystem in order for any of these to be healthy and to survive. This week is all about ecology and ecosystems. You can take a look at chapters 44 and 46. Ecology is the study of organisms and their environment, where they're found. The abiotic factors in an environment, like the weather, like how much rainfall there is, like the soil type, how much cover there is, all of that sort of thing. And ecosystems are a combination of organisms and their environments, and this is the study of those locations. We have discussion board postings, and they are based on, the discussion board postings are based on a video that's in the module overview, I believe, or the reading resources. And the discussion board postings are optional this week, and they're about eutrophication, and so this is enrichment of bodies of water, and most of the time this is not good. This is not a good thing, because then that leads to things like algal blooms and all sorts of problems. But it also is a natural process, because eutrophication is a way that lakes and ponds, etc., age out over time, which does happen. And there's some questions about the phosphorus cycle. The phosphorus cycle is interesting because there's only a limited amount of phosphorus on the planet. And so this is part of our cycle, because if you remember way back to, I think it was week 1, when we learned about the molecules, DNA is made of phosphorus, phosphate groups. And so they are very important as organisms. Phosphate groups and those phosphorus atoms. Waste, energy, and nutrient flow are also part of the discussion board postings. They are optional because you have a lot going on this week. Read the Module 7 overview. It's a quick overview about ecology and ecosystems. And I'm also going to post this Red Tides in Florida video for you to watch, because it's interesting. It shows you what happens what has happened along the coast of Florida and all around the country and all around the world when nutrients flow into water systems that shouldn't be there. This creates problems. Okay, then what is the main thing that you have going on? If your discussion board postings are optional, what's the main thing that you have going on? It's your final project. So your final project is a big one. This is extremely important. 260 points out of your total 1,000 points comes from this one assignment during this term. So that tells you how important it is. You have already done all of the work for this except putting together a slide presentation, right? So you did milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3. That's all the information that's contained in the final project. So what is the final project? Slides. You're going to make a presentation. This is not a paper. This is a presentation. So PowerPoint slides, Canva slides, Google slides. There's all kinds of ways to make the slides. PowerPoint is the most common and probably the easiest, but a lot of them are fairly easy. So you're going to make slides. Speaker's notes should be at the bottom of the slides. So what in the heck does that mean? If you have ever seen a presentation, and I bet you have, and boy have I seen a gazillion, you need to have bullet points for your audience to look at, and graphics and pictures to give impact to what you're talking about, okay? You don't write out every word that you would say to your audience on a slide. They don't want to sit there and read all of that because you're going to be telling that to them. So don't do that. That's too much. Just a bunch of bullet points like I have on this slide, right? Slides. And then I'm talking about the slides. So slides. You have a template this week. Use your template. And you will notice it is set up exactly like your outline material. I promise. The introduction, all of the different sections. And you have where, how, when, all those sections are on your slide template. So please use that, and don't just write me a paper because I have to count off a whole lot of points for that. So don't do that. Speaker's notes are at the bottom of the slide. So what the heck are they? That's what you can look at when you're making the presentation to make sure that you're covering everything that you need to. It's basically what you would say. Now, it doesn't have to be word for word what you're going to say, but it's an explanation about what this slide is about to help you as the presenter give the right information and give the information that you want to give. All 3 milestones are included in this. You already have them. You already have them graded. You have my feedback. All you have to go do is make corrections according to my feedback and then include that information on your slides. Remember, imagery is important, very important. You need graphics, you need data, you need statistics, you need charts, etc. Just pictures are very important. So if you have water pollution, for example, show a nasty, gross stream that an industry is dumping straight into. There are pictures out there on the internet. Be sure and give credit for your pictures. And since all of my pictures in my presentations are my own, I don't have to give myself credit. Anyway, include imagery because that makes an impact with your audience. GMOs, there are all kinds of cute little graphics and charts and all sorts of things that are out there that have to do with your topic. Label every section. If you don't use the template, label every section. You can't just blather on and on and on and on and on your slides and expect me to find your information. It has to be laid out in the correct order also, because that's the way that it's going to make sense. Okay? Label. And if you have any questions, if you get stuck in any way, please let me know. All you have to do is email me. I'm here for you. I'll be glad to help you with that. If you can't figure out how to get to the speaker's notes, then I can make a little video and show you. I can get on here. We can do like a Zoom call, one of those kinds of things. And I can show you on my screen, things like that. So whatever you need. And finally, we are coming to a close in the term. We're almost there. I want to remind you that the last day of our term is Sunday, October 26th, and everything has to be in by that day. When the clock strikes midnight, we're like Cinderella, right? We convert back to our former selves, and you will not have access to the course anymore, except to look at stuff. And the only thing that I can do is grade. So if you wanted to turn in something late, that's not going to happen because the course is closed, and that's the computer. I don't have anything to do with that. So make sure that you get everything turned in by October 26th. Even if it's a late assignment, make sure you get everything turned in. If you're finding that maybe you're running into an issue in these last few weeks, you've been sick or whatever, and you just can't get these last assignments in, then we can ask for an incomplete. You have to ask me, and then I have to ask permission from the registrar. One thing to note, though, is that you have to successfully completed 70% of the course material before I can even ask for that. So you can't come up with half of your work done and then me ask for you to get an incomplete, because I can't check that box that says 70%, and that means that you won't be allowed to do that. So there is an incomplete option, but it comes with conditions. So just know that, and if you're interested in that, just email me and we can talk about that. With that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful week this week, and let me know if you need anything. There's my email, m.sigmon@snhu.edu. Have a wonderful week.